this lesson, we'll be using the Ti84 and Desmos to find a linear regression equation. Also, I'll be doing an overview of the Ti84 graphing calculator. So the overview for today's lesson is to use a set of data from assignment 3, questions 4 and 5. And these are the set of data for question 4 and question 5. And we'll use a set of data to create a scatter plot using the Ti84 and Desmos to derive a line of best fit and find the linear regression equation. So you'll need, using a graphing calculator, you'll need a Ti84 or 83. And if you're using Desmos, you'll need to have Desmos with you. Also, for those of you who are using the graphing calculator, you should have this handout on the calculating instructions for applied math 30S. This will be important to assist you in navigating your way through the graphing calculator. There are two sides to it. We'll be looking at both sides. And for those of you using Desmos, there's this handout that you could refer to throughout. So those are the two things tools you'll need, plus your pencil or pen. And remember, these questions are on pages 4 and on pages 16 and 17 of your workbook. So if I were at pages 16 and 17 of your booklet. So before I go on to these questions, and this is the question 4, one with golfing, and then we look at question 5. Before I go on to these questions in the scatter plot, I would just like to give an overview of the Ti84 calculator, just to navigate for those of you who are new to this calculator. So I'll just adjust, you can see the entire screen here. There's a video just below this one also that will give you more specifically about the graphing calculator. So I'll turn it off. So your calculator will be off. And this is just your keypad here. So your keypad. Now these are the number keypad. So these are all the keypads. These are the number ones. So the basic calculations are on these white buttons here. Your enter button here, this is your equal sign. Now to turn it on, this is the on button. So familiarize yourself with these different keypads here. You have your log, which we'll not be using now. Some of these you'll be using in grade 12, which right now, the ones you've used right now is a trigonometry one here. And so far we've been using the vars button, the stat button, the graph, the y equal button, the window, and trace. So for those of you who have been using this for a while. So to turn it on, just press your on button, and you'll see the sign comes up. If it does come up, you can press 1 to continue. And this is your blank screen. Now, to do any computation, let's say we want 10 plus 5, you just put 10 plus 5, and this is your equal button. And so it will go down a line. Let's say I want to multiply, the same thing would happen, 5 times 6, and you'll see this. Now, if you want to do an order of operation, let's say we want 5 times 6 plus, say, 10, it will do it accordingly. You will follow the rules for like 5 times 6 first, then you add 10 to it. 5 times 6, 30 plus 10. Now, if you want to divide, it will shows you, let's say, 8 divided by 4, basically 2. Now, if you want to do multiple, like order of operations, say we have 8 plus 9 divided by 6 plus 2, Now, you'll have a different answer for this, right? Compared to what you would have. Let's say you'll have answer 11.5. But really, 8 plus 9 divided by 6 plus 2, which is 8, will not give you 11.5. So you need to use brackets whenever you have multiple expressions or computations. So we have open bracket, 8 plus 9, close bracket, divided by open bracket, 6 plus 2. Just going to show you this is a simple one, and the answer is 2.125. If you didn't put a bracket here, then it will divide by 6 first, the first one here, then it adds 2, which you don't want to do. You want to, let's do another calculation. You have 10 plus 5, or 6. Now, if I want to go back, I can press this right arrow key here. This would take me back. So, and that's going to change your, let's say I want to put 6 here. That's 16. 16 now divided by, say I want 8. It'll give me 2. But if I were to do like 10 plus 6 divided by 6 plus 2, which is 8, it will not give me 2. Because what happens, because I didn't put a bracket here, it adds the first 10 plus 6, which is 16 divided by 6, and then it will add 2 to it. So be careful. Your brackets are important. I would recommend that you will use bracket when you have multiple computations. Now, if you want to clear all, you can press clear. This is a clear button there. We delete everything. Okay. Now, if you want a square root sign, here's square root sign. Now, that's all these buttons here. Whatever you see right in top here, the white, you don't have to press anything before that. You go directly to, for example, 110. I press 10. I press cos, clear cos. Let's say cos of 20 degrees. Okay, so that's what you have. Okay. Secondly, now, if I want a square root sign, look at the square root sign, which is this blue here. To get any of these function that in blue, you need to press your second button, which is the blue button here. So for example, I want a square root of 10. I have to press second button, and it will give me the square root. Let's see, square root of 16, much nicer number to work with, which is 4, plus or minus 4. So the square root button. If you want to look at exponent now, say I want 10 to the power, say 4. So I press this button here, the power button. Or sorry, 5, I need 4. Okay, I can always toggle back, press the left arrow key to go back and change my value. As long as I don't press the enter key, which is the equal button. That will give me 1,000, or press 10 to the power 2. Gives me 100. There's a shortcut for squaring, which is right here. But this one works for any exponential value. So you have 10 square is the same as 10 to the pressing this button and 2. The good thing about the exponent button, you can use any power for this one here. Here you restrict it to the power 2. So essentially, that's the overview of the calculator. Now, if you want to turn it off, or first of all, let's clear it. Press the clear button. If you want to turn it off, you press your second and on. Remember, I mentioned earlier, the blue, any function with the blue lettering, you need to press your second button first. Same thing applies for the green. If you need this green, which we will not be using yet, when you get into grade 12, you'll be using this alpha button. So turn it on, you press the on button, and any calculations, you'll be pressing this any keypad here. So for example, I want 5 squared, 5 to the power 2, enter, equals. If I want a square root, I find the square root of, say, 25, that should give me 5. So try to do different computations And as I mentioned, there's a video below this one here that walks you through the different functions. But for this activity, you'll be using your handout here and follow these instructions here for you. Now, let's look at this handout. Resetting your calculator. Now, if you are sharing calculator with someone, there are times the person may have put in data in your calculator that you don't really want. So a good thing you can do, reset your calculator, meaning that you're going back to a clear, but no memory in it, like no computations in it. So to do that, you press your second button and this plus sign here. So second and plus sign. And it gives you a menu. The menu here, you want to go down to reset, which is number 7. And then it's set for all RAM. So you press enter and press 2. You can press 2 or you can go down here for reset. And this will clear your calculator of all data you had before. I had a set of data, so I cleared everything. So whatever I had before, it's now cleared. The next set of instructions, how to enter data on the list, is what we'll be doing next. So whenever you want to create a scatter plot, you start from how to enter data in a list, turn on the stat plot, check your window, determine the regression equation. So these steps here, follow them to get your regression equations. So these are the steps we'll be applying today to get the regression equation. So have this handy with you. Okay, so the first question we'll be looking at is question 4. And in this question, it said a golf instructor kept track of the hours his students practice. He then compared these hours to the students' golf handicap numbers. The results are recorded below. Now, in your booklet, you have a blank. You don't have a grid paper to do your sketch graph. But I just put it here to help me with the guide. So we'll do this on a sketch on this graph paper. And then we'll use your calculator and Desmos. Put it on. I have my phone and Desmos here. Now, you can also use your computer if you don't have a phone with Desmos. So the first thing you want to do is look at your data. Determine the regression equation. So this will be your x-axis. This will be your y-axis. Well, I'll label my x-axis here. Hours of practice. Because my goal here is to determine the regression equation. So I'll have to plot these points, create a scatter plot, and get the line of best fit. And the line of best fit will derive the regression equation. But we will not get the regression equation from our graph. We will get that from our calculator or from Desmos. So the sketch will help to give us a guide on what to expect on our calculator. So I'll have hours of practice. Now we have a scale for hours of practice from all the way to the maximum hours is 55. So we should go up to at least 55. So I'll make the scale here, a scale up from 0 going up by 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So I have my x-axis, a scale up to 100 hours. Now my y-axis, this is the golf handicap. And the maximum here is 18. So I want to go to at least 18. So if I use a set of 2 here, so we have 2, this is 0 here again. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And I have here myself here golf handicap. So you want to make sure you have that written there. I'm just going to go down and zoom in so I can see a little bit better here. Now I've labeled my X and Y axis and I have my scale. I now plot my points. So I have 40. Alice, who's 40 hours of practice, is 3 handicap. So 40 hours of 3 handicap at that point there. Bill, 23 at 12. 23, which approximately here at 12 would be up here. So we have Charles, 55 at 4. So Charles, 55 at 4. 12, Dina, 12 and 18. So 12 and 18. Ernie, 26 and 15. 26 here and 15 up here. You can see there's a pattern going on here. Maybe going down. Frank, 37 and 15. So 37, which is about here. And 15, which is and George, 62 and 3. So 62 and 3 would be about here. Then I take my ruler and I do an approximation. I notice a trend. It's look like it's going down like this. So this would be my line of best fit. So this will probably go and it will stop. Now, my graph, I could have extended it a bit more, but this is my approximation. It's probably 22. Now, this is a line of best fit. I could have made this a little bit, let's see how many points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I should have noticed what I didn't do correctly here. When I'm constructing a line of best fit, I want the number of points to be equal on both sides. So if I were to look at this, maybe I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I want to go through as many points as possible. And if I could have 1, 2, if I go through these points here, I should get an equal number of points on approximately both sides. That's my approximate line of best fit. So this is an approximation. Now, there's a question. Now, next lesson, I'll show you how we could have derived the regression equation from this graph. We'll look at the slope and the y-intercept, but not at this stage. The next lesson, we'll look at. Because some of you are wondering, why am I doing what I'm doing here? So I'll explain that next lesson, lesson 4. On the equation of a straight line. Now, use the regression equation to predict the golf handicap for a player to practice for 65 hours. So if you look at this one here for 65 hours, it will be approximately, according to this here, around 1. So say approximately 1. Approximately 1 as a golf handicap. In other words, when x is equal to 65, y is equal to 1. So that's all this question is asking you. But the good part of this is that you do a sketch. So when you go to your calculator, you will have an idea your scale, what it will look like. This is very critical for you to see your data in your calculator. So let's go to our graphing calculator. And we are going to duplicate what we just did here. So I'll put my on button. So I'll have to zoom out a little bit here. So make sure you can see all of the keypad I'll be using. Okay. Now you will also need your wonderful sheet here. So we'll start off with this sheet here. Now I've reset my calculator. So I'll move this over a little bit so you can. Now we have our calculator, and then I'll turn this off for a moment now. This is my off button. Second off. Or turn it on. And it's 1 here. I'm going to punch into 1. Do not show this again because I know what I'm doing here now. So if we reset our calculator, now we're going to enter our data. So I want to enter this set of data into my calculator. Now this will be, now because we did our graph here, in your calculator this will be L1 and this will be L2. So I'm going to make sure I'll highlight that. So graphing calculator. So graphing calculator. Yes. Now in Desmos, we wouldn't have to be worrying about L1 and L2. We'll have X1 and Y1, right? So we'll put that here. So Desmos will be the X1 and Y1. So how do I enter this data into my calculator? So this is step 2 here, how to enter data on the list. So you press your Stat button, which is this button here. And this menu should come up. It says, yeah, edit, sort, sort D, clear list, setup editor. Don't touch anything else but the enter key now. Press enter, it says there. Press 1 for enter or press the enter button. You're going to go press 1 here and it goes straight here. Or I'm going to press the enter button. Either way, and this data list will come up, L1 and L2. So these are the 2 columns you'll be looking at, L1 and L2. So enter data in L1, which would be your X value, and in this our case would be hours of practice. And the L2 will be your golf handicap. And make sure you have the same number of data for each list. If not, you will have an error, dimension mismatch. In other words, you have to make sure you have these correctly entered in. So here, you should have a clear list. That's one of the things you will do when you reset your calculator. Whenever you reset your calculator, whatever data is in here will also be deleted. So let's do this now. We have 40. And you have to press your enter button. So you press your keypad, number keypad, and enter button, and that will be L1. Now you can go toggle over using the right arrow key here and go to for the L2 and enter 3. That's a little. If you're not too sure, you can do 23. Then you move over to you have to press your enter button each time. So it's a little bit cumbersome going right to left, from left to right. So I would do all of the X values first, or the L1 and all the L2 values together. So 23, and you have 55, enter. You have 12, enter. 26, enter. 37, enter. And 62, enter. Now if I have my data, make sure that I'll collect 40, 23, 55, 12, 26, 37, and 62. Now I'll go over to my right side. Now I already have 3. Next is 12. Enter. 4. Enter. 18. Enter. 15, enter, 15, enter, and the last one is 3, enter. Now you have your data in your list. Okay, so we've done into data. Next, you want to turn your stat plot on. Your stat plot is what will make your graph show up with these dots in it. That's what that means. If I don't put the stat plot on, I will not see my plotted points. Here I plotted them. So here now, to get your stat plot, we will use the second Y equal button and 1. So let's go into, so now just putting a stat plot on so you can share that. You press your second button and Y. And this menu will show up. Okay. Then notice these are all off, right? So by pressing enter, now it will flash on the on. Press enter again. Now that's on. So press enter to choose on. So that's done. Now I want to go back to my screen so I can press, now this is what new button said here, second and delete. Sorry, second and mode, and that will clear it all. It's not clearing it, but it's making your screen blank. So if I go back here, second Y equal button, notice it's on. It's flashing and on. Now, next I need to show my window. Now, if you look at your set of data here, this is your scale. Your X minimum here, your X is 0. The maximum is 100. Your Y is 0. Your maximum is 22. So you can make that higher. So that's what I mean by the window. So you can see your data, how it's displayed. So that's the window function, is for you to see your data in your scatter plot. Otherwise, it will be way out of range. So for example, if I didn't put this range and I just have it within this box here, you will not see this section here. So your window is critical for you to see your data. So change your window setting, you press your window, and what comes up are the domain and range, right? Your X refers to your domain, so it's from -10 to +10, and your range is Y minimum to Y maximum. So ignore the rest for now. Later on, we will look at the scale, but we're not going to change the scale. We leave it as it is, as 1. Right now, this graph is going from -10 to 1. In other words, it has a range. And so, for example, if I were to look at this right now, what it will look like, this is -10, +10, 10, and 10. But I want my graph really to look like this here. I want it from 0 to 100 and 0 to 22. So in other words, I don't want any of this. So I want my graph to look like from 0 to 100 and 0 to 22. I can make this higher. So I need to change my window setting, okay, to reflect what I have here. So my minimum, X minimum, refers to this value here, is 0. So I change -10 to 0. And my maximum is 100, so I toggle down and I put 100 in there. Okay, then I press my down arrow key and I'll go to my Y minimum. My Y minimum referred to my Y axis here is 0. So I change it to 0. And my Y maximum is 22. I'll make it a little bit higher. I'll make it 26 or 25, maybe 25. Now that gives me my range. So make sure you have that correctly done. X minimum, X maximum. Make sure you have these correctly inserted, or else you'll have a dimension error. You'll see an error comes up. And Y minimum 2. That is why you want to construct a sketch. Now we've done that. We have our window. Right. How do we now, what are we going to see? We're not going to see any line yet because we haven't done that yet. Will we see our scatter plot? According to our work, we've done everything the instruction says here. Now, this is where you're going to go, and this is really important now to see your graph now. You press this graph button here. Press that, and there's your scatter plot. So the graph key here is critical for you to see a plot. Now we have from 0 to 100. Now this calculator doesn't show the values. You've got to see your values back to Windows. So go to my graph, 0 to 100 and 0 to 25. Here we go. So that's my scatter plot, similar to what I already have here. But I don't have a line of best fit. That's the next step. Now we have a scatter plot. The next step is to determine the regression equation. And this is the beautiful part of it all. Now we're going to get our equation. Right, we don't have it yet. So it said after you enter your data in line 1, L1 and L2, turn on the stat plot and change the window setting, which we've done, right? Press stat, right? Now this is where you're going to start it. Now you already have our data and press your stat button, this button here. The one that we used initially to get our data to enter. So we press the stat button here. Now, if you were to press enter, you will see it'll go back to the data you entered in. But we don't want that. We already done that piece. So we want to press your stat button again. And now you press the right arrow key to choose calc. This is your right arrow key here. So you're going to go to calc, right? So you press your right arrow key to calc. And this menu comes up, vars, stats 1 and 2, median, linear regression, quadratic regression, cubic regression, quartic regression, linear, and there's a list of different kinds of regressions. Now, the word regression is a mathematical term that we have to describe the relationship, right, between two or more variables. So it's really, we're looking at two different, in this case, we're looking at the variables, hours of practice, and golf handicap. So that's what I mean by regression. We're creating an equation that models the relationship between two things, right? What we call two in math, we said two or more variables. So these are our variables, hours of practice and golf handicap. So regression equation is when you're comparing two variables, right? So now we have a stat. We go to calc. We want that equation. Now press 4 if you need a linear regression. And that's what we want. We want to go to 4. Now 5 if you're doing quadratic regression. Now, when we get into unit 4, we'll be looking at quadratic regression. So I'll press go down to 4. Now this step is very critical, right? It says here now, you're going to press down the arrow key. You're going to press enter. You can use the down arrow key and go down to EQ, or you can press the enter button, enter, and stop here. Restore reg. Stop there. It's critical. Don't go beyond that. So your cursor should be flashing to the right of store reg EQ. Then you're going to press it says here, press the vars button. Now that's critical to write. You got to press your vars button here. When you press the vars button, it says press to the Y vars now. Y vars, go to there. and press enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now that will give us our equation, but you're not seeing it yet. So you have to press one more time, and that's your linear regression equation. Okay. So that's a linear regression equation. And the way you write this is you put y equals ax plus b. The a, in this case here, is negative 309, negative, sorry, 0.309 plus 21.3. Approximately, this will be y is equal to negative 0.031 x plus 21.2. So that's our regression equation. So we're going to write this equation down. Okay, so that's my linear regression equation. So I'm going to write this down here. So my linear regression equation is y is equal to, I'll have it beside me here, negative, I'll put a 0 in front here, 3, 1, I'll round up to 2 decimal places, x. You got to put that x because you substitute negative 0.301 or 3.1 where x is, plus your b, which is 21. So that's my regression equation. The line of best fit. Now, you want to see that regression equation, right? So now make sure, press your graph, and there is your line of best fit. Pretty close to what we have. Right. Now, by the way, this is one thing you will be learning. If you haven't reset your calculator, your equation will appear in this line here. Sometimes you already had a previous equation and the calculator will replace it, but it's best to reset your calculator. So this is the same long, wonderful equation. I just shorten it to 2 decimal places. Oh, I should put here 0.227. Sorry, I'll leave that 2 decimal places. So this is my regression equation for this graph. So there it is. Determine the regression equation for the line of best fit. And there is your line of best fit. By the way, all of the instructions that are here also, that you have here, is also in your booklet on page 13. So you can follow step by step. There's a visual here that walk you through on page 13. So if you like the visual representation of the steps here, on page 13, walk you through the example 1. So example 1 on the left side, walk you through. So you can go to that page and get that set of instructions. So there's our line of best fit and our equation, linear regression. Now, the question comes up now. Use your regression equation to predict the golf handicap for the player to practice for $65 hours. Now, this is where we will want to find the y value when we know the x. So I'll rewrite this here. Now, this is our estimated value. Now, we'll use the regression equation using the regression equation from the Ti84. X is equal to 65. Y, which is your golf handicap, that's what they're asking you here, right? The golf handicap, the y value. This is your x value. What is my y value? Where you will want to go to the next. Now, this is your sheet here. On the flip side of this, determining the y value. So this has a set of instructions how we find the y value. Okay. So what is a y value? Our x value is equal to 65. The value we need to find. So let's follow the instructions here. So here's my graph. I need my graph that I so determine the y value. So enter equation of y1, which we already did. Okay. Next step, second trace or calc. So you press your second button and trace. That's okay. So let's do that again. So first step, here we go. Here's our graph. Here we go back here. And our equation is already in y1. Press your y1 button. Next, you press the second button and the trace. The trace is at the top here. Trace button. Okay. Then we want to press 1, or you can press the enter button. If you press 1, now you see the x equal to, there's a cursor flashing there. That is given to you, 65. So we'll enter 65. So type in whatever x values you are given, then press enter. And the answer would be at the bottom here of the screen. So when x is 65, y is 1.16. So the handicap is approximately 1. So what did we ended up with in our, we get an estimated value of 1 also. So our answer is 1.16. So we round to 1. So the handicap for this person would be 1. Okay. So that's using the graphing calculator to do this. Now Desmos, slightly different, and we'll go to Desmos, and we'll do the same thing. So your Desmos screen should appear like this here, and the first step you want to take, and you can use your also this handout here. If you're using a computer, go to desmos.com calculator, and the upper left, click the plus button. So, or if you're using your computer, so I'm going to touch the right button here. And what you would like is a table. So I'm going to go to the table. Once you have your table, you're going to enter the set of data here. X1, so the X1 for Desmos and the Y1 for Desmos. So you'll enter your data 40. And this is your enter button, the arrow, the bottom left-hand corner. 40, 23. Enter. 55. 12. 26. 37. And 62. Now, this is your set of data in your X1. Now I go to Y1, B3, enter, 12, enter, 4, enter, 18, 50, oh, enter, 15, another 15, and 3. So now you enter all of your data. So we have done that. We've entered our table of data. So we entered all of the data. Now we need this. Now this is our interface, our graph. We need to see our scatter plot. We need to see the scatter plot here without the line. Let's do that piece here right now. And this is critical. This is what you have to enter. Slightly different from, now I'm going to go up here, and you may have to move up to see line 3. Now line 1 is here. Now I could have gone line 1 and do it, but I went to line 2. It doesn't matter. The next one below it, I got to tap on it. By the way, if I tap this plus sign here, I'll see my scatter plot. Oops, here we go. Here's my scatter plot. It's different from the Windows calculator, the Ti84 calculator. You don't have to set the win. Just press a plus sign. Now I need to go up here and go to my line 3 and enter this equation to get my line of best fit. I've got my scatter plot. The Windows, you press a plus sign to get that. I need to enter this. So now this is your keypad with Y. Now you have to touch 1 now. It automatically gives you the subscript of 1. So you don't have to do anything, just Y, button and the Y. Now I need to get this, this symbol there into there. Now if you look at the keypad, you see nothing. So you have to press the ABC. And there it is. So that's a tilde sign. Okay, we need that tilde sign there. Okay, I'll repeat that. So what normally we will have, this is our keypad. We want this tilde sign there. Press ABC, and the tilde sign is just to the left of the arrow key. Now I need to touch here. Tilde sign. Then MX. X. Now I need to get this subscript of 1. So I'm going to go back to the 1 here. Okay. Plus B. Now I need to get my B in. So I got plus. I'll go back to my lettering again and B. There is my line of best fit, which is identical as the graphing calculator, also identical as my, so we end up with the same result. Now, by the way, this is a negative slope. Next lesson, we learn about positive and negative slopes. This is, so remember from correlation, this is a negative correlation, right? The slope is decreasing, so the trend is decreasing. That's why we see it's a negative slope. What do we have for equation? Negative. So that's a negative slope. What do we have here? Okay, and we need to get our equation. So now the way the equation is displayed in Desmos is slightly different from your graphing calculator, but it's similar. Instead of having the equal sign, you have a tilde sign there. So it's y is equal to negative 0.31. So it's identical as what we did in graphing. Plus 21.26, we run it up to 27. So this is your equation. Y is equal to negative 0.31 plus 21.2. So we've arrived at our linear regression. The next question comes up. What is the value for x, for y, when we know x? Now, this is where you go into line 4, and you're going to create another equation. In this case, you let x equal 65. So put x, I'll go back to my pad here, x equals 65. And there is that line for represent 65. I'll move this down. So now, when x is equal to 65, now tap on where they intersect. Okay, now I can zoom in here. See, this is my line of best fit, the red, and this is my line for 65. If I were to tap where they intersect, tap and hold, and it will display the y value. This is our x equals 65, the y value is 1.161, so which is the same. So they're approximately, we had one in our graph 1.16 exact value. So it doesn't matter which one of these calculators you use, you'll arrive at the same result. This one is free, this one is very expensive. So take a choice. When you go into grade 12, I'm not sure what they'll be using, but right now the grade 12s are using a graphing calculator. They're not using this because it's not been traditionally used. So we'll see what happens next year. It may change. We may end up using the Desmos more than the graphing calculator, but this calculator is what most of us are using right now. But I would like you to learn how to use this one because it's free and you don't have to worry about buying a calculator. So that's it for this question. Now, the next question, I would like you to try it out. In this case here, I'll give you a head start. Here you have, it's kind of a table shown below. Here we have year and car sales. This is a little bit trickier one because you're starting off from the year 1950 to 1975. So if this were to be 0 here, you would have enough on your scale here to put this here. So you may have to truncate it, in other words, cut it off. And so in your x-axis here, this will be year. And you can make it from the year 1900, right? So 19 whatever, and say you have 00 here, right? From 1900. So we have 19, and let's start off. You may want to start off, instead of starting from 0 here, you may start from the year 50, 1950, 55, 60, 65, 75. Oops, I jumped 10 here. 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95. Now, notice this will be the year 2000. Right? So it'll be 1955, this will be the year 2000. So be careful with your numbers here. This is one way of doing it. And your sales now will be in thousands, right? So car sales. So it will be in thousands. So if you start from 0 here, you make this 100. This would be 200, 300, 400. That's 1 million. Then you're going to plot these points. Okay. So we start from 1950, be 325. Okay, so $325, etc. So notice I probably would like to start, maybe this is from maybe earlier than 1955. So I'll change my scale to maybe up to 10. So I notice this graph will come out that well. So what I would like to do now, make this from 35. This would be, make it for 10 years, 45. This would be 55, 65, 75, 85, 95. Now this will be 2005. I'll use like this here. 2015, 2025, 2035. 2005, 2015, 25. So there's my set of data. 1950, 325, so which is about here. 1950, 325, thousands, by the way. Then we have 1955, 387, which would be about here. Next, 1960, 448, which is approximately here. 65, 709. 1970, 640. And 1975, 989. Then here is your line of best fit. And you can take your ruler and construct your line of best fit. Now, you will want to practice in your calculator. I would like you to try this out at home. On your graphing calculator, what you want to do is to reset your calculator. You go second, memory, and go down to 7. Follow the instructions in your here to reset your calculator. RAM and reset number 2. If you press graph now, okay, you will see nothing in there. You'll see a blank screen there. And I would like you to go through step by step, follow what we did to the first one, to construct the line of best fit here. So this first one, you press your start button, edit, and you enter your data. Now enter it exactly as you see here, right? And you will want to add 000. So I'll start off the first one for you. So I put 1950. Oops. 1955, 1960, 1965, 1970, 1970. Okay. Now, instead of leaving it as 325, I'll put in the 00s here. These are the actual numbers. So I'll go over to my right side. I'll put 325,000. 387,000, 448,000, 709. Oops, go back up here. Notice I made a mistake. 709,000, 640. Oh, why is doing that to me? 640, 1, 2, 3. And 989, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now I have my numbers here. Make sure they're all correctly done. The next step is to put on your stat plot. So I put second trace, make sure that's on. Then I go to my window now. My window setting now is critical. Now, because I'm going from 1950 to 19. So my scale, I put it 1935. So now, remember, you have to put the actual year. So here would be 1935, I'll put here. And my maximum here, I put in the year 2035. So I'll make that 2035. Then my X minimum, I want to make that 0. And I want to make it to at least 1 million, right? Because that goes up my Y maximum is 1 million. Now you have your window setting. Sure, that's why it's good to do a sketch. Right? It helps. There's my graph, and there's my data. If I didn't start from 1935, but I start from 0, let's say if I gone back to my window, and instead of starting 1935, I start from 0 there, you'll find your data will all be clustered up in the corner here. You'll still get an equation, but it doesn't look as nice as if you just truncate it or cut it off. But if you didn't, you'll get that, and then you'll find the line of best fit. And this is where you're going to apply the linear regression equation. So we make sure we press the Y button that's clear there. So I go back to my graph. Then I press my Stat button, go to Calc, go to line of best fit, press Enter, and I go to here and I press my var button. Press Enter, 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 Enter. And there's your line of best fit. Okay. So that's your data. Now it looks like a huge amount of values, but remember this is the actual year, and that should be a line of best fit. Now, if you didn't use, if you didn't truncate it, you'll end up with the same result. In other words, if I didn't change my window, so I put my window, let's say from 1935. You'll see it nicely there. But if you would use 0, you'll still get the same result, except the graph doesn't look like a nice slope there. It's very steep. So I'm going to change it back to 1935. And that gives you your linear regression equation. Okay, and so now that's equal to y is equal to, now what's my equation? There it is. 2048x minus, there's a minus there, 48,087,123. So that's your regression equation. And you can try the same thing in Desmos. Describe any relation between the year and the car sales. And it's saying there's a positive correlation, right? Positive correlation. As the year increases, so this is my line of best fit. As years increase, car sales increase. And we have our regression equation, y is equal to 248 minus 48,8700. Now the set predict use equation to predict the car sales. So when x is equal to 2000, y is equal to, and this is where you will apply, go back to the sheet here, the y value, right? So now we have our equation in. So we press second trace, x equal to, no, in this case it is 2000. What is y? So we put in our 2000 here. And y is 151,000, 1,513,000. So it's 1,500,000, oops, here we go. $513,000. And the last part, what assumption are we making in part D? Well, we are making the assumption that the trend continues, right? So the trend is as the year increases, the car sales also increase. Now, for you who are using Desmos, you will want to clear all of this data, or you can simply exit out of it, but remain keep this equation in there. Okay. So you want to go back to your line 1 and you want to press table. Now, I want to change this to, I want to change that to x. Now, I don't want, now if you see that comes up, x2, y2, you will have to restart. So press my plus button, table. Now you enter your data as you have here, exactly as you see there. Okay. So I'll let you try that with Desmos. And if you have any questions, just email me and I can go over this with you.